kept the balance on the board here, David.
Yeah, big mistake. The only move, according to the computer, was to bring the black queen out to f6, but that was tricky. It was hidden. The idea is the same. You're counter-attacking a piece. That white knight, as John mentioned, doesn't have too many escape squares, so now he's seeking safety in exchanges here. But again, if you take that white queen, the white knight saves itself with a knight check. So you cannot damage the white pawn structure. At the end of this, white is going to be a clear pawn up for no compensation.
That is a very healthy extra pawn. That's going to be eventually 4 versus 2 on the left flank of the board. There is going to be more trades with the e5, f4 face-off that we're seeing. If you go pawn takes pawn, super happy Arjun Erigaisi is. Develops the bishop, recaptures, gets the king to safety on the left side of the board. This is Arjun Erigaisi's big chance to make a comeback.
Huge opportunity. It all went wrong for Firoujza. I think a bad opening choice. Understanding the opponent in chess is half the battle, and Arjun is known to employ these unfashionable lines, but know them just extremely deeply. You cannot take him on in a memory test.
And that's what also makes him such a hard opponent to prepare against, right? He always finds these unorthodox ideas, these offbeat lines in a sub-variation of a main line. How do you even get yourself ready for a guy like that? But this was a big opening success, and we are in an endgame where Arjun has an extra pawn, and there is a very, very unhappy Alireza Firoujza. That knight on a5, also not a happy camper.
Yeah, that's looking a little bit offside at the moment. That knight will need a couple of moves to reposition to somewhere more decent on the board. And you're right, in terms of opening preparation, in terms of opening trap, Firoujza really in a very, very uncomfortable spot right now. Very similar, actually, to his first game against Nordebeck earlier on in the quarterfinal, where it was just opening surprise leading to a huge time advantage. Okay, didn't quite convert, but the principles look very similar to what's going on here.
Yeah, first blow, first psychological kind of hit in the opening is so key at this level. Margins are so small, everyone's so good. You need that extra edge, and Arjun got it here. It looks like he's about to strike back. He does strike that black knight, and that allows the white king now to step forward, connect the rooks. Still a clear pawn advantage.
You know, we saw Alireza just a little bit reacting on the screen earlier there. And I think that had to do with what happened with that pawn move. He just figured out that he did have that queen resource that you were earlier talking about. We see these elite chess players, you know, they move ahead, but in their mind, the position's always there. And I think that was Alireza realizing that he did have a move that would have kept everything under control.
Definitely possible. Living in the past, full of regret. Alireza Firoujza now down 2 pawns, we should mention. The white bishop grabbing on h6 on the last turn. The white king slightly vulnerable. That's the only remaining source of hope for Firoujza. But with 7 minutes left here on the clock, Erigaisi should be safe enough. He just needs to get his king back at some point, maybe aiming to trade off rooks first. Arjun with so much time.
This is a dream position for white. You're up on the position, you're up on the clock, you see your opponent, he's reacting, he's not happy with it, the confidence increases, but it's not over. We've seen crazy things happen in Riyadh. You still have to finish the job. Arjun needs to be laser focused to get that done when he's playing a resourceful guy like Alireza.
I'm thinking about what Black's plan could be, how we can convert potentially dangerous position around White's king into something that allows things to be a bit more substantial. And I'm really struggling to see how that's possible in this particular case, because it does feel like White has a really simple, you can blitz this out in 1 or 2 seconds answer to almost every threat Black can create on the board right now. And I think that's a byproduct of Black's trying to do with 3 pieces what White is defending with 4. That knight on a5 again, if that was in a better place to support this attack, maybe there'd be more options available.
To your point, Alireza even might, right now he's attacking a pawn on f2, defend it. The idea of c4, trying to create those counter chances, the bishop sliding onto f3, it does, hits the rook, hits the knight. There are some direct threats that Alireza is creating in this position.
Yeah, he's fighting hard. He is a fighter by nature, and he normally doesn't give up until the final few moments. So for right now, he's landing a double attack against the white rook, white knight, expecting that rook to slide or step up. And yeah, some counterplay. White needs 2 or 3 moves to get the king off the d file, where it's stared down by a rook, to improve the white bishop, which is a bit offside. And if you can protect all your pawns in the process, a bit of a bonus.
Whoa, and he doesn't defend because that is a word not in Arjun's dictionary. He instead goes for counter offense. The rook on d8 now under fire. Moved, lines itself up to a2. You called him a fighter, he's fighting this position. You know, one of the rooks against the f2 pawn, the other one against the a2 pawn.
First, the white rook needs to save itself. Where does it go? Does it step up the board? Does it slide across? And, okay, he's at least tanking a little bit, Arjun Erigaisi. The first hint that he might be feeling indecisive. Nice counterattacks for the second time there, hitting the black rook. And then he saves his own rook. So the white f2 pawn no longer under any pressure at all.
And it's very much speaking to not wanting to go backwards, right? Yes, the rook has to move. Is there a way for me to do that in the most aggressive way possible? Knight coming back to g3 with the counter-attack to do that, to try and maintain as much of that initiative as possible that white has built up throughout the course of this game.
And black's building up some initiative of his own, getting the knight to the center, but more importantly, hitting on that a2 pawn. I will point out some checkmating patterns that can exist in this position. That white bishop's landing on f6 will force Alireza's rook into passivity, defending the 8th rank. So an idea that you really need to watch out for. And I think he's setting it up. He hits the bishop, he wants to double up on the e line, get that bishop on f6, and then we'll see some infiltration on the 8th rank.
Let's see if he is going for that plan. The black knight defends its bishop right now. Any counterplay here still takes a while for black. You need 2 moves. The black rook needs to take this pawn, and then you need to take another pawn, and the white king will not be safe. But I like Tanya's idea. A bishop move, tying the black rook down to the defense of the back rank should get the job done. There we go. He lands the bishop. Okay, sneaky defense there. The black knight now threatening to jump in, and wow, very passive, but maybe very effective. Just defending the attacked pawn with his rook there, Arjun Erigaisi.
I guess the way to turn that into something a bit more aggressive would be if we have a plan B of a2 to a4, a4 to a5, and we crack on and get that pawn as far down the board as we possibly can. But no, you're absolutely right, Tanya. The bishop f6 then became the most natural move on the board. It's almost aiding white's potential plan to get into that kind of mating net. Firoujza is going to have to watch out for all of these possible threats, now realizing perhaps that the a-pawn rolling down the board is an additional threat he has to deal with, but the biggest one is still 4 minutes and 2 seconds, plays 1 minute 16.
That's a big call as well, right? He's touching the bullet territory, and Arjun's got a lot of time on the clock to think this out, but the position not an easy convert. Knight e4 defending the bishop, attacking the black rook, doubles up on the a line, now threatening rook takes pawn, but always has to watch out for those back rank ideas. So far Arjun's done everything right, but where is the breakthrough? How does he pull through? Does he just simply start advancing the a pawn? Says he comes back to defend his pawn.
Again, slightly passive, but you can afford to make these types of moves, asking the opponent, are you going to check me, are you not? When your opponent is so low on the clock, there we see the red appear. It's danger, it's time trouble, and it's like roles reversed from the previous game. Neither side able to kind of just stamp their authority in both games now, and the black knight can be chopped off at any point. The bishop just retreats, setting up a nasty knight check. The white knight trying to replace that bishop where it stood.
51 seconds, plays 3 minutes and 27. Can Arjun Erigaisi now turn the screw and use time in his favor to take down Alireza Firoujza here and even up the odds in this game? That was a big swing in the eval bar, down to +1, but still very much advantage white.
Whoa, and look at the speed with which Alireza played that line. We see some trades going on here. Knight takes bishop, and the position's level. Arjun Erigaisi messing this up.
Wow, he's choked here, Arjun Erigaisi. He's missed that at the very end of this variation, when the black rook disappears, the black knight will hop further and attack the white bishop. Suddenly, look at the white pieces, both of them under fire. You can't save them both. He's running out of material. This game now most likely to appear and end in a draw. If, it's a big if, Alireza Firoujza can hold on the clock.
And it's on the board. The line that you pointed out. Yes, temporarily Arjun is up a piece, but he's about to lose that advantage. And now Arjun has to win on the clock. That is the big hope right now. But Alireza Firoujza, 44 minutes, 44 seconds on the clock. I think he makes a lot of moves. This is not an easy flag with such little pieces on the board.
All he needs to do is get rid of the 3 remaining white pawns. If he can do that, a white knight alone cannot deliver checkmate. No matter what is left on the rest of the board, the game will be declared a draw. And Arjun's king, the white king, is so far away. White's pawns all isolated. He's getting close, Alireza Firoujza. He got a huge helping hand there. Arjun just rushing, getting impatient. And now this game surely is about to end peacefully.
But Arjun, he's going to play on the clock. It's far from over. Yes, the advantage is over, but the clock game, that continues. He pushes the pawn. He's about to get his king closer to the right side of the board. Does Alireza have enough time to jump with his knight, capture that h4 pawn? But he needs to make a move.
He thought way too long there, spending 12 seconds almost. He's only got 25 left. It's bright red now, the clock. It is burning, and okay, he blocks with his king. The black knight coming back soon, though. He should still have this under control. But the pawn's disappearing. Is he going to be quick enough on the clock? White only with 1 remaining hope. The d6 pawn, if it drops, falls. Game over with a draw.
And he checks. If he gives any time to Alireza to retreat with the knight to that f5 square, knight takes pawn, game over. It doesn't matter because white will not have enough material even if you flag.
Knight trade here. It will be a drawn king and pawn endgame. And will he go for this? If you don't trade knights, the black knight is going back to f7 to trade. And here we go. We might see a flag fest or the game end in stalemate. It's a draw. Alireza holds from a hopeless position.
Alireza Firoujza, the Falcons managed to hold in game number 2 after being put under so much pressure for so long. Arjun Erigaisi there, 3 minutes versus 1 minute, fluffing that chance, and he knows it. But there are takeaways from this game for him. Arjun knows he can apply the pressure. He knows that Alireza feels it as well. He will still be gutted, however, not to complete the full point conversion.
This was incredibly impressive by Firoujza. With less than 15 seconds on the clock, just the way he maneuvered the knight, with the speed with which he did it, calculating the king and pawn endgame is a draw, leaving Arjun with no hope as the knight was about to give itself up for that d6 pawn on the next move if trades were denied in this position. Incredible scenes here. Arjun Erigaisi with a